Okay. Well, Charlotte's my backup. Citizens to be heard. Did we have any?
No one signed it.
Okay. We'll move on to item 4, mayor and administrative announcements and updates. The only announcement that I have is that the Loman Hilltop Peaks Drainage Project, we were awarded the grant.
Yay.
And so I'm working with GrantWorks and the engineer to work to get that thing moving along. One of the items that I did learn is that we can use ARPA funds for the match.
Yep.
So that will be very helpful. Okay. Move on to item 5. Consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. We have 2 items. Item A is approve the December 2021 City Attorney Invoice number 1292 from Cassana and Ortiz, not to exceed $4,160.10. And item B, approve the minutes from the January 27th, 2022 regular City Council meeting. I do have a question. No, never mind. I do not.
Okay. I didn't either. If there's no discussion, I move we accept we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Hold on, somebody wants in. We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay. Financial report. I'm going to pull that. We have a hiccup in the system. I'm working with Intuit to get that resolved, and we'll include the January financial, Charlotte, with the February next month. Item 7, police. Item A, updates and announcements from Chief Lopez with possible discussion and or action. Do you have any general announcements, sir?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Item B, presentation of monthly report by Chief Lopez with possible discussion and or action.
Good evening, Council. Looking at the monthly report for January, starting at the top, we had 25 court defendants along with 45 cases. Moving down to traffic stops, we had 44 traffic stops for the month of January with 36 citations issued. Moving down to warnings, we had 28 warnings issued. I've also added calls for service for each officer, showing their productivity, how many case reports that they took in for the month. Calls for service for 985 was 33 reports. 986 was 45 for a total, I believe, of 78 case reports. So that's a lot for 2 officers. 987 is currently doing FTO with Officer Castillo, 985, and so it goes along with the same officer during that time until he gets released.
Who's 987?
Officer Chato. Moving down to assist other agencies, we had 9. Moving down to assist EMS, we had 6 calls for service. Alarm residents, we had 4. Animal bite, we had 1. Animal dog, 2 calls for service. 2 civil matters. Moving down to crash injuries, we had 2. We had moving down to COVs, trash garbage, with 1 warning. Junk vehicles was also a warning as well. Also to recreational vehicles, mobile trailer was 1. Moving down to family disturbances, we had 3. Noise disturbances, 5. Disturbance shots heard, 2. Disturbance verbal, 4. Emergency detention, 1. fire structure other was 4, information report was 5, reckless driver was 3, recovered vehicle was 1, suicide attempt was 1, suspicious person was 5, suspicious vehicle was 4, telephone harassment 3, and threats was 1, traffic violation hazard was 1, and 6 welfare checks. Keep in mind, calls for service was high for the month of January. It takes time to put these reports together. Obviously, our traffic stops was low because it does take time to write those reports on, given that 70 reports were generated for two officers.
I've got a question on the suspicious person and suspicious vehicle. Is there anything resolved about that? Do you just go look for them? Did you make contact with anyone?
They do make an attempt if the person requests to anonymous, then there's no feedback on that.
Okay, so you didn't find any suspicious vehicle or suspicious person?
No.
Okay.
Sometimes the calls for delay have a delay there. So by the time that officer gets to the area or place, that usually.
Yeah, if it's the non-emergency, it can be quite a while.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Move on to item 8, animal control. Item A, updates and announcements from Animal Control Advisory Committee Chair John Crickmer with possible discussion and or action. Do you have any general announcements, sir?
Well, I believe Penny Paws wanted to come twice this month, and this weekend, coming weekend was one of the days, but I never got a confirmation from the contact person with Penny Paws, so I'm going to say that's a no.
Okay,
That's all I have.
all right. Okay, item B, presentation of monthly report by Animal Control Officer Dalton Ellis with possible discussion and or action.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I believe y'all have January's reports. I can go over those. I also have February's reports as well. They changed quite a bit.
Well, let's just do January.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the animal inventory, currently we have 8 dogs in custody, 1 in foster, and 7 here at our facility. Y'all's intake may be a little different. Unfortunately, it doesn't give me the numbers for last month. It just gives me the numbers currently.
Right.
For the outcome summary for the month of January, we got rid of a total of 5 dogs, 2 for adoption, 1 was taken to Oak Hills, and then 2 more for return to owner. And for intake for the month of January, we took in a total of 4 dogs. And one of those, or actually 2 of those dogs have left our facility. 2 of those dogs are still here.
Okay,
How many dogs do we have in custody right now?
Currently, we have 8, 1 in foster, 7 at our facility.
Okay.
is that as of today or is that as of this report?
That is as today.
As of today.
Yeah, that is the current number. 1 left today, actually at 4:30. So,
And the good news is the guinea hog is gone.
yes, the pig is gone. Yes.
Did the person get their chihuahua yet?
That Chihuahua was adopted out, actually. Yes, unfortunately, the 3-day time limit expired and that dog was adopted.
Went to a better place.
It went to a great home, that's for sure. Went to a great home.
Sounds good.
Okay, any other questions for Dalton? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have an ordinance for item C. You have it? Not that one.
No, I don't have it either.
I'm sorry.
I don't have it.
You don't have it either?
No,
You have, not that one. This is for something different. Item D is this one that you're talking
Okay.
about. Okay, I'm gonna pull item C.
Because it had the wrong ordinance number too.
Okay. We'll pull that and we'll get it on the next agenda. Okay, item D, discuss and or possible action on approving ordinance 2022-196, animal control regulations, amending ordinance 2021-185, animal control regulations. So we started this at the last meeting and there was some confusion and we weren't all on the same page. So I think this time we are on the same page. There are, boy, these things can be challenging. So we're adding a whereas statement that says Senate Bill 5 was passed by the 87th Texas Legislature and signed into law by the governor of Texas, replacing the previous unlawful restraint of a dog with a more humane standard of care for dogs, as well as an enforcement mechanism for peace officers with an effective date of January 18th, 2022. And we are altering the next recital that has to do with amending the previous ordinance. We've added a couple of definitions. One is abandon, and that is to fail to adequately provide an animal with one or more of the necessities of life, including but not limited to air, food, potable water, sanitary conditions, shelter, protection from the heat, cold, and other environmental conditions, or under other circumstances that may cause bodily injury, serious bodily injury, or death of the animal for 24 hours or more, or to leave an animal in the care, custody, or control of another person without his or her consent. Adding an additional definition for adequate shelter, which means a sturdy structure, A, that provides the dog protection from inclement weather, and B, with dimensions that allow the dog while in the shelter to stand erect, sit, turn around, and lie down in a normal position. Added another definition for city administrator. The person appointed as city administrator or interim city administrator of the city, or his or her designee, or at a time or times the position of city administrator or interim city administrator is vacant or unfilled, the mayor or his or her designee. We added a definition for harness, a set of straps constructed of nylon, leather, or similar material, specifically designed to restrain or control a dog. Definition for inclement weather includes rain, hail, sleet, snow, high winds, extreme low temperatures, or extreme high temperatures. Making a correction under the definition for officer, replacing city marshal with chief of police, and adding, in addition to a code enforcement officer of the city, adding a code enforcement official of the city. On the next section, make sure I'm on the right pages here. So under prohibited animals, that we're removing some animals from there. And it says prohibited animals, I'll read the full text. Any animal not normally considered domesticated and capable of or inclined to do serious bodily harm to humans or other animals or fowl as determined by the city. These animals include, but are not limited to, any venomous lizard or snake. We are striking boa constrictor, python, emperor scorpion, and then including bat, raccoon, skunk, fox, bear, elephant, kangaroo, non-human primate, including monkey and chimpanzee, antelope, deer, wolf or wolf hybrid, lion, tiger, ocelot, bobcat, or any other large cat, alligator, crocodile, feral swine, and their allies. We probably,
You would think
Can we
you
add
wouldn't have
camel,
to,
can we
but-
add a camel in there?
I wanted to know.
You wanna- you really did?
You know, a tiger's only $2,000.
Okay, so we've added a definition for properly fitted, which means with respect to a collar or harness. A collar or harness that A, is appropriately sized for the dog based on the dog's measurements and body weight. B, does not choke the dog or impede the dog's normal breathing or swallowing. And C, does not cause pain or injury to the dog. Adding definition of unprovoked means the animal was not hit, kicked, pulled, struck, pinched, poked, prodded, shocked, or squeezed by a person with an object or part of the person's body, or otherwise teased or tormented in any manner. Adding definition for vaccinated, an animal that is considered to have a current anti-rabies vaccination according to the Texas State Rabies Control Act as amended, and the minimum standards established by the appropriate state agency or rulemaking board. And that's the end of the definition. So if you will turn to page 8, this is where it's going to get a little tricky. There's a section in here added. Well, first of all, section 5 is previously vaccination and identification requirements, and we're changing that to be vaccination, identification, and spay neuter requirements. So there's a new section in here, B, licensed required issuance and conditions. So requiring a license for the animals. If a person commits an offense, if the person harbors a dog or cat without a current license tag issued by the city for the dog or cat. And then it talks about defenses and issuance of license and tag. A person may license a dog or cat in person or in writing by providing current proof of rabies vaccination of the animal and payment of the initial license fee. The owner will receive a metal license tag stamp. The owner must attach the tag to the collar or harness that is worn at all times by the animal. I'm not going to go any deeper into that because I think there's some comments already from council members related to that. And I know in discussion with Dalton, one of the challenges is this is being presented as an annual registration. We requiring cats to wear a tag. If you've ever had a cat, good luck. But rabies vaccinations also requires that they wear a tag. So now if you're going to put 2 tags on a cat, that's not going to work. But
Not without a metal detector to find them.
but also cats can get their collars hung up and, so that's going to create another problem. But I did notice on the news, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, that the city of Houston has put in place an ordinance related to registration, and they're using microchipping as the registration. So that becomes a lifetime, a lifetime for the animal instead of an annual renewal. By issuing tags and having them stamped, that's a cost to the city. And the microchipping, I think, suffices for that. So they can bring their animals in. Dalton could scan them, make the recording, get the vaccination records, and, check for spay neuter as needed. So my point is there's a lot of stuff that was put in here related to tags, and we'll kind of open that up to the table here for discussion on that.
Well, I'll just start out. Putting a collar on a cat is a death sentence.
That's a
In
non-starter.
far too many cases.
And some dogs also.
If the collar is tight enough for the cat not to take it off,
Mhm.
it's tight enough that when it gets hung up, the cat's strangled.
Right.
We're in the 21st century and most cities are doing away with tags and license and requiring microchip registration.
For the registration.
And it, it's a one-time cost
Mhm.
to our citizens. So I believe that's the direction we should go.
Now, I
Uh,
know Dalton and I had started this discussion a couple of months ago, I think, and engaged the attorney to kind of help. And I'm sorry
Well,
for
here's-
butchering all the work that you
Here's
did.
here's my, if an animal is captured and it's not microchipped, or it's microchipped and not registered,
Right,
we need to deal with it before the animal leaves the facility.
exactly.
Okay, so, the $50 retrieval fee, if your animal's not microchipped,
Mhm.
and I'm hardcore,
I know.
you should get a notice of violation and talk to the judge about why your animal was not microchipped. Yeah, because you're in violation of the law. That's just my personal opinion. But no, microchip registration is the way I believe we should go.
I'd like to ask Dalton to chime in on this conversation if you don't mind.
I think microchips the way to go too as well. Like you said, Houston went with it, San Antonio goes with it as well. San Antonio doesn't require metal tags, they just require microchipping.
Okay,
So I think it is the way to go.
okay.
What is the cost associated with microchipping?
Through us for residents, it's $10.
We're buying- We buy
Once a
some,
month is available, right?
yes, but we're gonna get Dalton trained to do that so that people
On
can just
demand.
come on demand, yeah. It's
Awesome.
during, and we get our supplies through off of Bear County contract, so we're getting a very, very, very good price.
Okay.
The $10 includes, I think the total cost to us material wise is just under $9, like $8.50 or something like that per unit. But $10 includes the registration. So if you took an animal to the vet, they're probably going to charge you $40 for the microchip and still more for the registration. So we've made it very affordable for residents to
And-
comply.
In relation to what Pro Tem Fillinger was saying, with the citations, whenever it is a return to owner, they come to pick up their animal. They are required, if the dog's not neutered, rabies vaccinated, or microchipped, they're required to sign a legal document stating that they will in a certain amount of time. If not, then a citation is issued.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we strike all that from this ordinance having to do with registration? Tags?
If we're gonna do it, we might as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, there's some of this that I think still needs to stay in, but I will defer to the attorney on that.
I'd like to see some revisions. I see part of it as being a good idea, maybe a little overcomplicated. But I think the ordinance should be separate for dogs, cats, and other animals that people are entitled to have. Because this ordinance says that you have to keep your cat in your yard. I'm not quite sure how you do that.
No.
You can talk to them. And they just keep pointing out that linguistically, you're not communicating with them. And
That's not true, sir.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Mine obey.
Cats understand 350 commands. They just don't comply.
yeah, but I mean, the idea that somebody, a cat wanders up on their property, you're giving them two choices. Go to all this length to get them, arrested for, trespassing, I guess. But I think we're overcomplicating the whole thing. And it could be simplified from beginning to end. Basically, if you have a dog, you're required to get a license or a microchip license. Is the new way of doing it. And if you have the old system, you've had the dog for 54 years or something, and you can't find the original neutering papers and whatnot, maybe a provision will say that from this date forward, these rules apply. People with existing animals that haven't caused any trouble. What you're asking for here is for people to ignore a lot of laws. Okay, you think somebody that's got 3 or 4 cats that they've been feeding for the last 5, 6, 10 years are gonna wanna go to all this expense and their ears are clipped? I have one animal, I have one cat that was fixed. I know I paid for it, but it didn't get its ear clipped for some reason. So I'm just saying, I think we're overcomplicating the problem. And it can be shortened quite a bit. And just point out here, if you have a dog, it has to have a license. If you have a cat, we'd like you to microchip it, and we'll do it for practically nothing. But, you know, if the cat is a house cat and been out of the house for 3 years, doesn't make much sense having to do that. And there are other animals. I think you picked up a road hog or something that's on your report. Some.
Oh, the pig?
The what?
The potbelly pig. It was a potbelly pig.
Oh, and we all know there are people who have goats, sheep. I think one person has a cow somewhere, but I don't think if we can't solve the little problem, which is the dog, which is the big problem, we can't solve that problem first and narrow our focus on dogs. There's no sense overcomplicating the whole thing. That's all.
So you think the animal control identification should apply to dogs only?
At the moment, yes.
Well,
If people want to come down and bring their cats, but that's fine. You know, I think it's a wonderful plan. Having had to go out in my yard with my metal detector to find the dog's collars and the cat collar that I had one time. I don't think putting collars on cats is a good idea. In fact, I think it's, you know, because I have fences, all I'm gonna end up doing is hanging them. But my cats weren't even my cats. They just wandered in there a few years ago.
So I think in the discussion, we've pretty much decided that paragraph B should just be struck in entirety, which is dealing with licensing. And then because in section E, microchipping is where that is addressed. But I,
D, correct?
no, on
Page 9D.
page 10,
No, I didn't make it.
page 10 is microchipping.
Oh, this is gonna be a long one.
We have,
It's not,
we
it's
have
not.
so many
This is
people
the
with their
biggest part.
feral cat colonies that trap,
Right.
neuter, release, and they're not all neutered. They're not,
They're not
they haven't all
microchipped.
been trapped. People have dozens of cats they take
Right.
care of. It's just an impossible chore.
Right. Try to put a tag on a feral.
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, in the interest of moving right along, I move that we amend the proposed ordinance by striking paragraph B of section 5 in its entirety.
Well, I will actually say this, though, the purpose of these ordinances and these laws are coming into play or by the governor is just to make the individual accountable for their pet ultimately.
Right.
And that's the sole purpose of that. You have to be accountable for a pet,
Right,
just like a child.
right,
And that's what they're holding individuals accountable for.
right,
Generally applies to at-large animals, right?
right.
If
Well-
they're- if you're
Well, no.
contained
Two
your
different-
animal, then there's no issue.
No, sir, there's another issue. Animals that are not properly being taken care of.
Right?
I been told there are several dogs that are still on chains,
I saw one today.
I saw one today, yesterday.
you know, And if you've got a dog on a chain, you can put a water bowl out there, but he's gonna spill it.
Right.
Uh, And that's where the new Safe Dog Act is applied here.
Right. But we'll
So-
address that. I think that's addressed.
This is a separate
further.
issue though. That's, we're talking about animals that aren't registered.
Sir, if I may, I'd like to go back to, I moved to amend the proposed ordinance by striking
Yes.
section B.
Yeah, so we have a motion. Do we have a
B or
second?
D.
B
B is a boy.
for license
License
required.
required issuance conditions. I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rufino to strike section 5, paragraph B in its entirety. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. All right. So now we're off to C, 5C.
Madam Mayor, I moved to strike C in its entirety. If we're not gonna have the license
The
required,
licensing.
revocation
True.
is redundant.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second by Alderman Rapino to strike section 5, paragraph C in its entirety. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. Okay, then the next change is on paragraph D, item 3. We should probably strike the additional of and licensing tags.
What page is that on?
It's on page 10, item 3.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to start a little earlier, man.
On the first part.
D.
Paragraph D1. I'd like to strike
Hmm,
and cats. On the other hand,
You should strike the whole thing. 'cause
Strike
we're
we
the
not
should
doing
strike
tax.
the whole thing because we're not gonna license and registration will be handled in a different
Well, hold
manner.
on, because all of this, hold on a minute, we may need to strike the whole,
The whole thing.
yeah. It's all related to the tags and the registration,
Yes.
okay?
Related to callers, they're required to wear their rabies tags.
Yeah.
So even if it's not a licensed tag, right now, so the rabies tags are still required. I'm not certain about cats, though, the dogs.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
The microchip doesn't allow updatable.
We, for vaccinations, no.
Okay.
That would be very nice if it did, yeah.
Can be where they're outside of the house,
Mhm.
not necessarily in the person's yard or if they're enclosed.
I was gonna say, I think the state law states that it's outside of. the
Yeah, it's
person's
outside of
house.
the
Correct, yeah.
residence.
Outside their
Off
property.
their
Outside
property.
Property, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have a tag, right?
Correct.
Oh,
How about if we change on D1, identification tags to rabies tags?
Strike cats and put rabies instead of identification. Do we have to? If they're off their property or just,
You can include that part in the order. that
Yeah,
may
we
be
should put that because then it explains.
An exception. I don't think there's an exception in here that it's, there's an exception if the dog is within the property zone.
Yeah, it doesn't say that. Says if the dogs or cat are confined within a residence, need not wear their collar. However, in no case shall a dog or cat be allowed to exit the interior of the residence without wearing its collar or harness within the current rabies, with
The current
the
rabies.
current
and license.
rabies and licensing tags, plural, attached. If we're not gonna license, then we're gonna have to strike that out. Dogs and cats shall wear identification tags as required by this ordinance. I don't know if the rabies tags is identification or not.
It's not identification. That's why we struck identification
Okay.
and changed it to rabies
The rabies, all right.
and struck cats.
Well, if you get a rabies,
You're gonna strike licensing
you're
on
supposed to
3.
Bring the document,
Hold
give
on.
it to Dalton, you know.
Yeah.
Is Penny Paws not going to be here anymore?
Well, that's good.
They're still coming?
Yeah, they're still coming.
On page 10, 3, where it says and licensing, to remove that.
Hold on, I think we need a motion on number 1 for a change first.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a turn.
Okay.
Paragraph D of section 5, sentence 1, dogs, strike, and cats shall wear strike identification and replace with rabies, tag, singular, strike the S at the end of tag, as required by this ordinance.
We have a second.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Crickmer to amend section 5, paragraph D, item 1 to read dogs shall wear rabies tag as required by this ordinance. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, all right, on to page 10.
And 3, as I said, remove and licensing and tag, the S on tag.
but I think we need to back up to
To the beginning.
aid in
Yeah.
identification of
Cats in
the
it.
pet owner, return of the animal in the event of impound. The owner of the dog.
Where are you? Oh, sorry.
Back to
I turned to page 2 quick.
Page 9, 2. The owner of a dog. I move that we strike cat or cat. Shall see that a dog, strike or cat, wears at all times a collar or harness to which the current rabies tag shall be attached, except as provided in paragraphs 3 or 4 of this subsection. It is unlawful for any person to remove the tag from the collar or harness without the owner's consent. So my motion is that we strike or cat in 2 places
But I
in the sentence.
sort of disagree in a sense of the exceptions are down in 3 and 4. Right, because it says except as provided in paragraphs 3 or 4. So maybe we make the adjustments in 3 or 4. I don't know if it's just semantics or whatnot, but it sounds to me like the exceptions are in 3 or 4 where we would make the changes.
But so we're not discussing the exceptions. We are discussing
The identification.
the identification and requirement to have the cats wearing the collars and the tags.
Gotcha. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger to strike 2 occurrences of or cat in section 5, paragraph D, number 2, Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second by Alderman Crickmer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, now we can turn the page.
I have an additional question there for our city attorney.
Mhm.
Are these numbered items actually paragraphs?
You just want to call them form wise?
Yeah.
I think you can call them paragraphs or sections, subsections.
Well, they wouldn't be sections because that's a section.
We have a section 5.
No,
Item A, and then I guess the number,
D would be
item A,
the,
and then I guess the numbers are paragraphs.
D would be the paragraph and the number would be the line.
Well, no, sir, I don't. think
I-
so. I think paragraphs is correct in this usage.
So the numbers are paragraphs?
Yep.
And what are the alphas?
So no, ma'am, unless it's a subsection.
Subsection?
Okay.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Okay, then we'll use that. Okay. Item 3. Paragraph 3, sorry.
What is it?
Yeah, once again, in paragraph 3, I move that we strike the or cat in each instance. Dogs, strike, or cats confined within a residence need not wear their collar or harness nor the rabies tag while within the residence. However, in no case shall a dog, strike, or cat be allowed to exit the interior of the residence without wearing its collar or harness with the current rabies and license, that current rabies, strike, and license tag, strike the S attached.
I'll
Is that a
second.
motion?
That is a motion, ma'am.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger, a second by Alderman Crickmer. Should write that right. To strike 2 incidents of or cats in paragraph 3 and replace and licensing tags to read rabies tag singular. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Wait a minute, it says the cat must wear the collar if it exits the house, right? Is that what it says?
we're striking the or cats, sir.
You struck the word cat.
Yes.
Not allowed to exit the interior, okay? I didn't hear you strike the word cat.
Good.
Okay, paragraph 4, anything you want to change there?
I don't believe we have anybody
Any
putting
show-
cats into a competition,
Mhm.
but so I'm gonna leave that alone.
Okay. Number 5 seems to be fine. Okay, then we go into subsection E, under microchipping of dogs and cats is required.
I have a question.
Mhm.
When you do your registration with your microchipping company, you don't have to annually,
No,
no, that's good for lifetime.
it's a
right?
lifetime, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Mhm.
I'm good with paragraph 1.
Mhm.
Paragraph 2, I would like to add, the owner of a dog or cat shall maintain current registration with a microchip registration company and the city of Sandy Oaks.
Oh, and,
Yes,
okay.
Equipped to monitor that information.
Yes, he has a scanner. And
we, if I can interrupt,
Yeah.
we have dogs that are taken in, and we scan them and they're registered. But we don't have that information. So we go to the company they're registered with, and they will advise the owner.
So we never get the information.
So we
back.
never get the information and, you know, if we're gonna require the microchipping, we need to have the data involved in that.
Right.
Well, aren't we
How do we go about
requiring the
doing that? We
registration
don't have any
of all
infrastructure
animals
for that.
anyhow? So we should have the data.
Right.
If we're requiring the registration of the animal, then
Well, what
It-
it's saying here is that the owner shall maintain current registration.
no, but aren't we registering all animals that,
Well, we are, but they could have been microchipped somewhere else.
true, but wouldn't then, when they register the animal, wouldn't that suffice
We're
to
not-
get the?
We're not
struck
regis-
that. We struck
We're not
that entire
registering them.
Oh,
subject.
But what we're asking is that you
Well, I
bring your
understand.
animal in, we'll scan it and it'll go in our records.
And I understand that, so, but I thought that we were also requiring everybody to register their animals.
We are
That's what we were gonna do.
through microchip.
Okay, then what if, then that's what I'm saying, if we're requiring everybody to do that, then they would come up with their animal and we'd get the data.
Yes, that's
We don't have
exactly right.
anything in
With
place
some
to do that.
exceptions, sir. There are animals in the city right now that have been microchipped, but
Not by
they're
us.
registered with a company, not with the city.
But they're required to register with the city now.
That's
by-
what he's
by the-
asking. That's what he's wanting to add
That's what
here.
I'm wanting to add in this item is the owner of a dog or cat shall maintain current registration with a microchip registration company and the city of Sandy Oaks.
Well, I thought that was already in here, that they
No,
would be
sir.
registered with the
I
city.
think it's a good idea, but we have
Wait.
nothing in place to get people, no, other than what we're creating right now to get them to come in and give us that information.
Well, what
Yeah, we
happens
pick
is
up their animal.
if the animal gets picked up
Yeah,
and he scans it and it's got a microchip, but
Right.
it's not, he's out of the loop. He has to contact that
Okay,
microchip
well,
company.
if they're not required to register with the city, then fine, I'm okay with it. I
But
just
this
make it
this is
form.
going to become our de facto dog and cat registration database right here.
It's fine.
No, some people aren't going to come in and register their animals, but if that animal is
It's picked
taken
up.
into custody, then they are forced to register
Mhm.
prior to retrieving their animal.
Right.
is there a fine of it for
We'll get to
non-registered?
fines at the very back.
Okay,
So is there a cost to register with the city?
10.
I will,
There's a fee schedule at the back. We'll get to
Okay.
that.
Okay, so then,
okay, we talk about fees at the end.
okay.
Yeah.
So then the next question is, there's, how is ACO gonna track that data? In an Excel spreadsheet?
No, Pet Point.
Okay, I've never heard of Pet Point. so
Oh,
this is
that's what
good.
he uses for intakes and outcomes. and-
Okay, all right.
Oh,
good.
yeah.
All right,
Every animal gets assigned a unique number.
okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, I was like, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, that's gonna be.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
May I say
Yes, sir.
So, with something you asked about, the fees, real quick, I know fees are a thing, but
Mhm.
if the dog is already microchipped through, let's say, they paid $30 at the vet to get the dog microchipped, are they gonna have to pay a fee to register?
We'll talk about that when we get to fees.
Gotcha, sorry.
Okay. All right, so who made that was Alderman Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger.
I don't think you got a second.
We have a motion for Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger to expand, y'all got me all confused here, section.
E2, paragraph 2.
Paragraph 2.
Subsection. We're gonna have to relabel those.
And we are. The owner of a dog or cat shall maintain current registration with a microchip registration company, and the city of Sandy Oaks. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second by Alderman Rapino. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I'm gonna oppose. I can't see microchipping every cat in the city.
Oh, only owned cats, sir.
right.
It's not gonna affect the ferals at all.
Well, it's not that, it's just it's a waste of everybody's time. I mean, how many cats have you picked up in a year, Dalton?
I haven't been in this job a full year, but we currently don't pick up cats.
What do you say?
We
They don't pick
currently
up
don't
cats.
cats.
Well,
Or he hasn't picked them.
No, it's mute.
Also.
It's kind of a
word, isn't it?
Yeah,
Most cats are feral that are out loose. So,
I got at least 40
Is there a
cats that
bounty
pass
on
over my place.
Here's
every day.
here's my take on that.
Mhm.
Okay, if by chance on social media, we're continuously seeing Missy's gone, Fluffy's gone.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout for my calico.
mhm.
If the calico shows up at my house, I can say, hey, dog, come scan this thing.
Mhm.
You know, I'm just saying that the microchipping is good for the animals and the owners
It is. And
as
if
well
they,
as everybody else.
yes,
I agree with
and
you. I agree with you on that. But I feel it's something that people who have Misty or whatever her name might be, we can offer it as a service to do the microchipping at a low cost. That way, if the cat get lost, you know, it might be easier to find it, but a lot of these people, quite frankly, and I'm not diverting from the conversation, but at the moment, people are having challenges putting food on the table. And I feel that beyond being voluntary, if somebody wants to do it, is an unnecessary burden. I really do. I can be outvoted. That's happened.
I can also tell you that in the event of a dead animal.
Yep.
We still scan those. So at least
Absolutely.
you can
Should be done.
notify the owner. So if Fluffy is a prized kitty and something happens to Fluffy and you find out what used to be a Fluffy cat, you could scan it and
Like
see
I
who
say.
the owner might be.
We could offer that as a low-cost service to those who would want it.
It is low
It's
cost. It's
$10.
$10. It is low cost. It's $10.
I know, but I still think it's something that should be offered as a service, not mandated as a law. That's all.
I understand.
And I have some leanings that way myself because quite honestly, most of the cats out here are ferals.
Mhm.
You know, I don't have a registered colony, but I feed a half a dozen cats, a raccoon and a possum, so.
You're out of compliance.
Let me go
Yeah.
back and see. Wasn't there something about raccoons in here?
I'm not keeping him. man.
You're feeding him, you own him. Ooh,
Well, I think the cats.
Where are we?
where are we?
Where are we?
We're moving on to
Subsection E, number 3.
number 3.
Yep.
That's
That was
self-explanatory.
a 4-1 vote on that.
Yes.
Yes,
Correct.
You already voted.
yes.
Right, 4-1.
It was 4-1? Okay.
I'm one.
Well, I can't hear you, so. Okay, so item 3
Oops, 4-1.
looks good.
Again, I think we should update, would add the including a new address or telephone number with the microchip registration company and the city of Sandy Oaks within 30 days of date of change in contact information.
Say that again, please.
And
That's an ad at the end?
It's an ad right after microchip registration company, ad and city of Sandy Oaks.
Okay.
Within 30 days.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
In other words, if someone moves in with a dog that's microchipped,
I got it.
got it,
they need to come register the dog,
right.
as it's common in many other cities in Texas.
Does the chip thing, the wand tell you who it's registered with, like as far as the company?
The company, but
The
not
company,
The
necessarily.
company,
Right,
but
right,
not the
So that,
individual.
because I mean, I wouldn't remember 5 years later who my dog was registered with
Yeah.
if I moved cities.
But
But you, so you would have
But
that.
they would have that company would have your contact information. So
But
they're
if-
gonna try to reach you. If you've changed your phone number, you're gonna be,
So
Challenged.
sometimes when I scan a
That's what I'm
dog,
saying, yeah.
yeah, sometimes when I scan a dog, it'll be with 1-800 microchip, right?
Right.
Well, that person has the option to keep their information private. If they choose that option, I don't get to see anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, all I get to do is click found lost pet and they do the rest.
But
And if
then,
that person calls me, then that's it.
but then you can tell me, hey, it's through 1-800 microchip, and then I can call them.
Exactly.
That's what I'm getting at.
Oh,
right?
I got you, I got
Like
you.
you'd be able to tell
Yeah,
that
I can tell you
person.
the main company.
Okay,
Exactly.
perfect.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
okay, so Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger made a motion to insert in subsection E, paragraph 3. I'll struggle with this. After the part that says with the microchip registration company, to add and city of Sandy Oaks.
A second.
We have a second by Alderman Crickmer. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Okay, that was unanimous. Okay. And then number 4. Yeah. That has to do with change of ownership of the dog and then the registration that's required. And they're saying the new owner shall be responsible for re-registering the microchip to include any new address and phone numbers. And have the registration information transferred to the new owner or keeper within 30 days. You think you want to add?
what the paragraph doesn't address the company. So
No, but it does say that you have to update it.
And I think we should require that they I think that we should require that if it's change of ownership, they also have to notify the city,
Mhm.
but I don't have any fancy words for that.
Where do we put that
And we should
inserted at the
require,
end?
we should require the new owner to register the animal with the city.
So how about possibly where it says the new owner shall be responsible for re-registering the microchip to include any new address and telephone number and have the registration information. Boy, never mind. I see where you got stuck.
I think it should read the new owners shall be responsible for re-registering their microchip with the registration company and the city of Sandy Oaks to include any new address and telephone number and so on.
Okay,
Sounds good.
that sounded really good.
I'll
Is that a
second
motion?
that.
That's a motion.
Okay,
I missed that.
okay, so hold on just a minute.
Transfer to the
Okay.
city, right?
Yes, so hold on. We have a motion by Alderman Martinez and a second by Alderman Rapino. The sentence that reads, the new owner shall be responsible for re-registering the microchip. we're adding with the registration company and the city of Sandy Oaks. And then continue with to include any new address and telephone number. Sandra, are you keeping up with all this? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that was unanimous. Okay, then we get into an entirely new paragraph. Where are we? I have to have a little cheat sheet under spay neuter for dogs and cats. So this is an addition. Paragraph 1 says all dogs and cats kept in the city limits must be spayed and neutered. The owner of such animal must retain documentation of the spay and neuter of the animal. Violation of this subsection may result in the impoundment of the dog or cat as provided in this ordinance. 3, dogs and cats exempt from this subsection include those under 6 months of age, those where a licensed veterinarian certifies that the dog or cat should not be spayed or neutered for health reasons or is permanently non-fertile. Service dogs helping disabled persons or assisting law enforcement, or purebred dogs or cats that compete in conformation, obedience, and agility events and have the following. Number 1, the animal's microchip number. Number 2, a copy of the animal's up-to-date health statement. And number 3, appropriate documents to establish exemption or signed affidavit attesting to participation in competition.
What if your dog's in a relationship? Not much.
I don't even want to do it.
That's the next.
Is
section.
everyone okay with that? Is everyone okay with that item F?
Not
Yeah.
yet,
Not yet?
not yet, only because we're gonna add a lot of cost to people that, like the alderman next to me said, they're struggling to put food on their table.
Mhm.
And if we're gonna force them to spay or neuter their dog, and I don't know if this is the right section, maybe it's
Sir,
covered somewhere
my-
down the line.
My suggestion, and this may be cold-hearted, if you're struggling to put food on your table,
You don't need it.
why do you have a dog or a
Because you
cat
got, you got to feed.
Comfort,
that you have to feed,
yeah.
that you have to provide for?
That's what this is all about. If you don't take good care of your pet, you don't deserve one.
Well, there's another potential option here that we could do fundraising. We could accept donations to put into a separate pool that when those situations are encountered, those donated funds could be used for spay neuter. Not using city funds. They're donations that are coming in specifically to that department. We've talked about doing a bark in the park type event or costume contest during Halloween, or, I mean, there are I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have a very significant amount of responsible pet owners out here.
We do.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And so the point there is, if we had events that they would be comfortable bringing their animals to, that could be part of the fundraising part of that. But again, if we put a plea out and, if somebody needs, an emergency, I mean, I'm with you. If you can't afford them, don't get them. That's the bottom line.
Well, the
Because
thing
they
is,
are a
you gotta
lifetime
have 'em
commitment.
First, before you can afford them. And the fact is that not everybody who could not afford it, I noted people who can't put food on the table. I mean, inflation's raging for a lot of people. And they may not just be the kind of people that want to come and admit that they haven't got the money to do it. Okay? I'm just saying it is perhaps you've got a good idea. Yes, we could give them the money. But I'm not sure everybody that would need the money is willing. That is a problem generally. People who need the money are going to come and say they need the money. Okay, they can afford to do this and that with their cat and or their dog or their guinea pig or whatever they got. But I just, I think it's an unnecessary burden until we get past this pandemic.
The other part is, it talks about the violation, right, of this subsection may result in the impoundment. Is there going to be an opportunity for a surrender?
We don't do surrenders. If that were the case,
We don't have the.
we don't,
Well, right,
we,
no, I
we
mean,
need, you know.
Yeah.
A 300 kennel unit minimum.
I get quite a bit of calls to surrender dogs.
Monroe County has some.
Some people just turn them loose.
And they're probably not spayed or neutered, not vaccinated, not anything.
And Bear County doesn't do surrenders either.
Yeah.
Bear
I've
County
adopted-
doesn't do surrenders either.
I would have done
I've adopted
On our
dogs
website,
with
they do.
parvo,
Exactly,
mange,
exactly.
heartworms.
If I can say what a couple of other cities I've known to do, they don't require it, but if the dog gets impounded, then it is a requirement. Because, you know, then that kind of shows
For
that.
the spay neuter.
Exactly.
And that's exactly how our ordinance is written. Once
Yeah,
they're
we-
impounded, now you got to do the three things.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not, gonna be driving up and down the streets to check whether a male dog is
Intact.
intact or not. And I don't think anybody else at this table is gonna do that.
Well,
So-
This is
no, but any
primarily
dog
for
at
at-large
large will have the
animals.
chance,
I'm
of
just
with
gonna
neutered or
have
not, he's gonna
pets
get impounded if he's
wear
at large.
Huh?
So
But,
Gonna have my
but
pets wear
my
pants.
thing is, once they're impounded, they're not coming out until this is done.
No, that's not how we're doing it.
Well, they sign an
They
affidavit
sign an
saying that.
affidavit stating that they will do it in a certain
Yeah.
amount of
Same
time.
thing.
And then if they don't do that, I assume it's a citation? Okay, so the problem just got bigger
More
for them.
cost.
And, yeah,
This is basically for at-large animals and as long as you contain your animal and take good care of it and people don't see it out on a chain
Right,
in the heat,
right.
then you don't really have an issue.
yeah, we do have an issue of how many puppies get ran over a
Right.
year here when their mothers leaving them across the street and people run over them.
Happened
mean-
Saturday,
That's an at-large dog. Oh, you're talking about, okay, I got you. I understand.
right.
And the purpose is to do deterrence, so deter the individual to, it was conveyed that obviously if you have a pet, then you're gonna have to be accountable for the animal, obviously, but you can't afford for food. So which is it? Pet
Right,
or
right.
Food on the table,
Right.
and that's the whole purpose of to deter.
Exactly.
That's later on in here about the breeding, correct? Limiting,
You're,
Let us
Let-
address the
we'll
spay
get-
neuter requirement.
Let's
Exactly
move on
first.
before we're
Uh,
Getting into philosophical things here.
right,
I'm gonna state once again, if you can't afford to take care of your animal, you should not have that animal. You should be taking care of your children.
I agree.
and I would agree with that, and I know that sounds harsh to a number of people, but what is harsher is the fact that we have irresponsible pet owners out here that are putting the public in danger and other pets in danger because they're not vaccinated. They're attacking, they're threatening, if we weren't faced with those things,
And,
we would be having a different conversation.
and much of that is because they're not spayed,
Right,
they're not neutered,
right,
they're reproducing, and they're allowed to run free.
right.
And there is research that shows that if you don't spay or neuter your animal, obviously there's cancer in them, ovarian
Right.
cancer and other diseases that can, creep on them, and obviously they'll pass because of that.
Well, and you will never get the at-large stray population under control ever if you don't spay neuter. That's just the fact. And so, back to item F.
Well, we've discussed it. I hear no,
Except as presented, okay. Let's move on to page 13, section 8. I guess that's subsection A, paragraph 3. This is talking about prohibited actions, and it's unlawful for any person to provide grooming, kindling, or boarding of animals for a fee, or to breed or sell more than one litter from one or more animals on the same property in one calendar year. And we know for a fact that people are breeding their animals and selling them because they'll say, yeah, I've got Huskies, $300 a piece, or I got little Chihuahuas, or, and you'll see that same person do that 2-3 times a year, or maybe not
yeah,
a year. I
for
don't know how.
the, for the purposes of the ordinance, I believe a rehoming fee should also be disallowed
I agree.
because,
That's the
That's their
same as
loophole.
for
some
sale.
people are advertising Huskies $300 and some people are advertising Huskies
Rehoming fee.
with a rehoming fee.
Right,
Oh, it's $300.
right.
Calling it a rehoming fee it is just a way to get around.
So you want to,
Sally.
amend number 3 where it says, or to breed and sell, or,
To provide grooming, kenneling, or boarding of animals for a fee, or to breed and sell more than one litter from one or more animals on the same property in one calendar year without complying with all applicable requirements of the ordinance of the city. How about at the very end of paragraph 3? For the purposes of this ordinance, a rehoming fee is considered a sale of an animal.
Sounds good.
would that fit into this section, or would that be a definition?
I think you can put in a section and then we have a definition.
Have a
of what
definition.
Rehoming would be, and that can be the sale of
Okay.
an animal.
Well, hold on, I gotta make sure I got what he said. So for purposes of this ordinance,
Right.
could you say it again, sir?
Okay, for the purposes of this ordinance, a rehoming fee will be considered a sale of an animal.
Makes sense.
That's a cottage industry, it has nothing to do with the rest of this.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Alderman Rapino to add to the end of paragraph 3 to read, for purpose of this ordinance, a rehoming fee will be considered as a sale of an animal. All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Okay.
Would it be a separate issue? Do we need the word grooming in there? I mean, that's a separate issue altogether.
Sorry.
Grooming,
Grooming.
I consider that a cottage industry, but
Yeah,
and a harmless one.
yeah.
Well,
actually, I don't believe that's the case. I think they're required to be licensed if they're groomers.
Well,
She thinks groomers are required to be licensed.
Do you know
I can double check on this, on the actual state law. There is a section
about that?
about that.
I know that it happens.
'Cause
I'm
Yeah,
not
I mean,
gonna
it
turn
involves,
anybody in.
current rabies vaccinations and, multiple.
And then
dogs
we'd have to
together in one
define
spot.
grooming.
Huh?
Then we'd have to define
Yeah,
grooming.
you have to define
Is that
grooming.
bathing? Is that painting their nails? Is that?
currently, ma'am, the grooming is not addressed in the applicable regulations, the requirements of the ordinance of the city. Uh, So it's kind of
It's a prohibited action.
There's no definition for it.
but without complying with the applicable ordinances, we don't have any applicable ordinance to comply with. But neither here nor there.
Okay,
Uh,
again, we can always,
We can
Bring it
always
back.
address it, but I don't know of any groomers in the city that charge a fee.
I know they take donations.
They take donations.
Exactly.
Um,
Okay, well, let's move on to the next section. Subsection B. No, subsection D, sorry. This deals with unlawful restraint of a dog. An owner may not leave a dog outside and unattended by use of a restraint unless the owner provides the dog access to adequate shelter. An area that allows the dog to avoid standing water and exposure to excessive animal waste. Shade from direct sunlight and potable water. Anyone have any issues with that?
Was there a definition for adequate shelter? Right?
Yes,
Right?
there
I
is.
thought there was. Okay,
Yes.
just making sure.
Just
Okay.
for, Purposes, this is directly from the new state law.
That's what I figured all this was. Okay, and same thing with the next
Um,
paragraph 2.
Yeah, all this new sections, if something is included from the previous ordinance, it's because maybe that was more restrictive than
Right.
what the current law is, so I kept it in. but it
Okay,
can be changed. Or it was the same wording used in the new.
in the new law. Okay. And that goes through all of these,
It's,
all of this whole section,
Entire-
the unlawful restraint.
yes.
Okay, so that's good to know. And the penalties as well?
Up to the penalty.
Okay. Okay, so now
Where are we?
we're on page 16 under capture and impounding. Actually, we're moved to 17. So paragraph 5 is being amended here. And I do have a question on this particular one. It says such impounded animals shall be held for a period of 3 days. Dalton and I had this question the other day. Is that business days or calendar days?
It needs to be business.
I
Well,
think that needs to be defined. I don't know how it's usually. How it usually is, or I guess it's opening whenever a shelter or the city is open, then it would be whatever days that it is open.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we amend paragraph 5. Such impounded animals shall be held for a period of 3, insert business days. And at the end of time, if the animals have not been redeemed or the proper fee paid as described here.
okay. Okay, so the addition to this particular, this was an existing paragraph. If the animal has not been redeemed and the proper fee paid as described here, and the animal shall become property of the city. All ownership rights for the animal shall transfer to the city, and the animal may be adopted or disposed of in a humane and proper method, taking into consideration factors that may include, but not limited to, the animal's behavior, aggressive tendencies, feral characteristics, health and housing space availability within the sole discretion of the animal control officer. An animal shall become property of the city. All ownership rights of the animal transfer to the city. And in the latter part of that, it talks about the 3-day holding period. You want to change that to 3 business day?
In both instances.
In
Yes,
both
ma'am, insert
instances.
business days.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Fillinger to clarify the 3-day holding period in both instances. to reflect those are business days. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Alderman Crickmer. All in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? That motion carries.
Question about not the 3 business days, where it mentions, where did it go? And maybe I'm overlooking, or maybe I'm just kind of reading into it. Within the sole discretion of the animal control officer. Seems like it puts a lot of responsibility on just Dalton.
He doesn't make those decisions. It is ultimately his decision, but he and I talk.
It goes through a vet, it goes through. yeah.
Exactly. There's,
Okay, okay, I just didn't want to put that on. you.
No, no, no.
Yeah, it goes, yeah, no, I'm not the only one to make that call, and
Okay.
honestly, it's, to me, it'd be irresponsible for one person to make that call, so.
it would
There's
be.
multiple hands.
There's multiple things that happen. I will tell you, if it's a puppy and it's test positive, puppies don't come here. They go straight to the vet. If they're parvo positive, they're put down. We don't even bring them here. We have some volunteers who can do some behavior assessments. And in those cases where they are determined to, not that any animal could not be rehabilitated, but in today's world with resources as scarce as they are, we're certainly not going to invest the time and money in that, and those resources aren't available to take them. So we do what we need to do. So yeah, he never makes the decision in a vacuum. There's a number of other considerations. Okay, and good thing we get to move along now. That was the hardest part, guys. Go to page 29. And this is under section 14, authority to kill, impound, or destroy animals. In number 4 of A4, we are replacing city marshal with chief of police. In, where are you? Everybody caught up?
Over here.
I got it.
Okay, all right, on the next page,
28.
page 29. Subsection C under vaccination and spay neuter requirements. Paragraph 3, dogs and cats exempt from the spay neuter requirements include, and I made a notation, Ms. Ortiz, is this was redundant, other than it being in a different section.
It's because in this section, it was under the current ordinance where a dog is impounded.
Uh-huh.
So it's that those vaccine requirements, but if the city is going to require that all animals be vaccinated, then it could be redundant. It's just, it was when a dog was impounded versus when a dog is just on somebody's property.
Got it. So it kind of is redundant because we're now making it for
Yes.
everybody. So we technically could strike
You can strike it.
number 3 in its entirety.
Paragraph.
Yeah, I can let you know.
We need a motion.
We do.
I moved that we try, what is it?
Section 14,
Section 14,
subsection
See,
C,
subsection C,
paragraph 3.
paragraph 3 in its entirety.
A second.
All this new lingo we're gonna be used to, and I'm probably still doing it wrong. We have a motion by Alderman Rapino and a second by Alderman Crickmer to strike in its entirety. Section 14, subsection C, paragraph 3. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. Okay, let's move on to page 31.
Chief of Police.
No, above that.
Oh.
Item D, or paragraph D, says the animal will be retained for a minimum of 3 days. We need to change that to business days.
No business days.
Need a motion,
I do, please.
make a motion to change the word verbiage to the animal will be retained for a minimum of 3 business days.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Martinez and a second by Alderman Rapino to amend section 15, subsection A, paragraph D, to read minimum of 3 days, change it to read minimum of 3 business days. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. We, on subsection B, we are changing city marshal to chief of police. Okay, section 17, criminal penalties and enforcement. We're on page 32. So right of entry, number 1, any peace officer. We're replacing the city marshal to read any peace officer. Number 2, adding, it's currently reads code enforcement officers. We're adding or code enforcement officials. And then number 3, we're adding an entire paragraph that says officers shall be responsible for the enforcement of all laws and regulations of the state of Texas pertaining to animals that authorize the local health authority or animal control officers to enforce the same. Looks like the next one is just a typo. And then on page 33, under enforcement violations, replacing city marshal with chief of police and adding, in addition to code enforcement officer, adding code enforcement official. And that's it until we get to the fees.
Mayor, there are 2 sections where the city marshal's office wasn't changed on the amended ordinance, so that will be changed to police department. Section 15C.
15D,
1.
See.
C. No, I don't see that. 15. Oh, C down here. Sorry, under animal bites. Oh, I see marshal's office.
And also 15A2.
And 15A, right here, marshal's office. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
do we need motions on those?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is everybody there? They know what we're talking about? Go to page 30. 30. Under section 15. Subsection A, paragraph 2. Second sentence references marshal's office.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a sweeping motion that in every instance where the ordinance states marshal's office, that it be stricken and replaced with police
I
department.
like that. Will that suffice?
Yes,
I'll second that.
I think it's just those 2 places, but that will take care of everything else. too.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to replace any reference to city marshal to read chief of police. Police department or chief of police?
Police department.
It said marshal's office, so it should be.
Police department.
If there's a reference to the city marshal, then it's.
Got it, for the office. Okay. Replace any city marshal to read police department. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. Okay, so thank you, Charles, for being the voice of reason. Okay, here on the fee schedule was Exhibit A. Oh, I see what you're doing there. So currently, we have a return redemption of a captured animal first offense of $50. That's being amended to read return or redemption of a captured animal that is altered first offense would be $50. And then adding return or redemption of a captured animal that is unaltered first offense.
May we clarify that, ma'am?
Sure.
Because we do not have definition of altered in the ordinance.
You can change it to spay, neuter, or have a definition. of alternate.
Return redemption of captured animal that has been spayed or neutered. First offense, $50.
Okay. Okay, so we have, is that a motion, sir?
That is a motion,
Okay.
ma'am.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger to replace the word altered under return redemption of a captured animal to read spayed or neutered.
I'll second.
And we have a second by Alderman Rapino. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Okay. We're adding return/redemption of captured animal unaltered first offense.
Not spayed or neutered.
Well, that's the motion, so we're,
Unless exempted by.
but also there needs to be a fee associated with that.
before we talk about fees, let me make a motion. Return redemption of captured animal, not spayed or neutered, unless accepted by the ordinance, because we have exceptions of spay and neuter. The motion is to change the description phrasing.
Okay. We have a second on that.
I'll second.
Was that you, John?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Crickmer to reword the proposed fee or fee description to read return/redemption of captured animal not spayed or neutered unless accepted. First offense. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct, ma'am.
Is it accepted or exception?
I put accepted, EXCEPTED.
Yeah, we have exceptions and that animal is accepted.
I heard
That's-
I heard accepted.
No,
Maybe.
accepted. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'll try to speak English.
No, he heard it from me. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and so now on the same item, we need to assign a fee to that.
Madam Mayor, in the interest of people redeeming animals, I say for a first offense, they sign the contract. And we use the $50 fee.
Same $50?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's the same as the very first one.
It's the same as the very first one, but they will have to sign the contract to get an unaltered animal back.
So we only need
What's
one
the
of the
wording?
two instead
What's
of,
the verbiage?
oh, got it. One is all. One is altered, one is unaltered. Okay, got it.
But I think the fee should be the same,
$50.
$50.
And with the, Dalton, what do you call that? An agreement, a contract,
Contract.
a contract?
Bring the contract same thing.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger to assign a $50 fee requiring a signed contract to have the animal spayed or
Yeah,
neutered.
that's already our
Right,
policy.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
okay. We have a second. Okay, we have a second by Alderman Martinez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. Could you make a sweeping motion, please, here on
Yes.
altered versus unaltered? So we don't have to do this over for the rest of these.
Well, we're still gonna have to go through
We are.
them. Return or redemption of captured animal unaltered, second offense.
Mhm.
I do not believe the animal should be returned a second time
If it's unaltered.
if it's unaltered.
Second time, no return.
That means they broke the contract.
They broke the
They
contract,
broke the contract, they violated the
the agreement,
ordinance.
and they violated the ordinance.
You know, I doubt that they're gonna come back the second time because they're gonna get a notice of violation because they violated the contract.
But if we don't have a surrender policy, how can we keep their dog? We're gonna have
No, we
300 dogs. Like makes like.
Well, no,
Mary
no,
said,
no.
Where-
Right here,
where
we
is it?
already have in the ordinance, the third offense, you don't get it back anyway.
Hmm.
What he's saying is if it's picked up the second time and it's unaltered and you signed a contract, you're not getting it back.
So is there a,
You
Is
still have to
there-
pay, right?
Unless it's captured within the 10-day or whatever, or
The 3 day, are you talking about 3 days?
No,
no, the
2 weeks.
contract, how long do they have? to
how long do they
comply
have to
with the-
comply?
Oh, 30 days. I give them 30 days.
Okay, so if they're picked up
It's
in
hard to
30
get a
days, we charge them another $50. If they're picked up after 30 days, they don't get the dog back.
and there's no penalty fee?
Sure there is,
Yeah, you
Well, no,
still
no,
have
no, okay,
because once they violate the contract, then they receive a citation because they're not in compliance with the ordinance.
Okay,
Right.
so what's the penalty on that?
Uh,
$100? $50?
yeah, because if you're picking up one that is altered a second time, there's a $100 fee.
I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't either.
No, I mean, if they violate the contract, what's the,
They violate the contract, they're issued a citation.
For how much?
That goes to the court, right?
Yeah, it goes through the court.
Goes to the court, yeah, so whatever.
I think it's 381 or something like that per offense.
Well,
Uh,
the
But that's
judge-
assessed, the judge does that.
yeah, so that,
here we go. On page 33, section 17, criminal penalties and enforcement. Subsection B, violation penalty, except as otherwise provided by law. Any person violating any provision of this ordinance shall be deemed guilty of a misdemeanor and shall be punished by a fine not to exceed $2,000 and no 100 cents. But that is entirely up to the judge.
It is up to the
Maximum fee
judge.
will be $2,000.
so what do we put in there, judicial? or,
Judge's discretion.
Judge's discretion?
Every misdemeanor is at the judge's discretion, sir.
No, that's
So-
what I'm
So
saying.
we need people to be aware, though, that they are subject to up to a $2,000 fine for violating the ordinance.
In addition to a citation.
That would be the citation, ma'am.
yeah.
Well, I believe that the court software assigns the fine based on tables that already exist in there.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Let's just put citation in there,
Or up to
or
$2,000.
assessed by the
Oh,
court.
I like that. Can we do that up to $2,000?
Yeah. we
What
could.
we're talking about,
Unaltered second offense.
an unaltered second offense.
Or anything that has a citation.
Hold on, attorney.
Well, the fee needs to be reasonable of what it would generally cost the city to administer it. The $2,000 is a completely separate penalty. That's the court's discretion.
At the
So-
court's discretion.
So $2,000, if that's what it would cost the city to, or if, basically, if the city's not losing any money, then $2,000 would be reasonable. If it's just, if the city's using it as a penalty, the city can't do it.
Got it. Okay.
By the judgment of the court.
Well,
You want to,
are we going to allow people to redeem an unaltered animal a second time?
Not if they're in violation with their agreement.
If they exceeded the agreed contract time,
Mhm.
and we picked up the animal a second time, are we gonna allow redemption and believe that they're gonna go ahead and comply with the contract after that fact?
Right,
What if they put
Okay,
up a bond?
when they're receiving a citation because they didn't comply with their contract, I don't think the animals should be
return.
returned.
You have no argument with me on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
We're just trying
Neither.
to settle up, how do we divert the verbiage for going to court and paying what the judge determines?
We
Then it
don't
should
bother
be-
with that, sir. It's already in the ordinance.
Right,
We keep the
Okay.
animal and send them, give them a citation, they get a court date.
but are we gonna, well, so we're not gonna return the animal is what you're saying?
Well, I don't believe we should.
No,
Okay. How do we address that in here?
I think you would address it similar to the way it is for the third offense, only third offense, you would probably specify if that's for spayed or neutered or any animal. And return redemption, capture animal fee, the blank fee.
No
seizure.
fee.
fee of the return.
So something like the return redemption of a captured animal
Second
On-
offense unaltered,
with breach of contract or something like that.
something like that.
Seizure.
Or breach of agreement or whatever it is. And then just. the
Maybe I'm
actions.
getting ahead of myself, but we don't need the third unaltered return, correct?
We don't have a third.
Oh, I thought we did licensing fee.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
sorry,
hold
sorry.
on, sir.
Let's, one at a
settle.
time.
Let's settle what we've got going here.
Okay.
Okay. An unaltered animal captured after the expiration of their contract
Mhm.
on a second offense, I believe should not be returned to the owner.
And you're telling them it's 30 days? Okay, so it would be after 30 days. We should clarify anytime that we use numbers and days. Are we talking business or calendar?
But 30 days is a calendar day, ma'am.
Okay. I think Cassandra and I came up with if it's not specified by default, it's calendar.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the
But
animal is not
I
returned.
see the imperative of 3 days.
Right,
Friday's a holiday.
right. Or Monday's a holiday
Or
or,
Monday's a holiday, then you have no time.
exactly.
So that should be,
Clarified for business or
Business,
calendar.
yes.
Got it. Okay.
when we're talking about a month, no, you got plenty of time.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you are making a motion on the return redemption of captured animal that is unaltered, second offense, after 30 days
Yes,
of first offense,
would not be,
of first offense.
a first offense would not be retired, but
So
returned.
dash, no fee, done.
Done.
Okay. We have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second by Alderman Rapino. All in favor, say aye.
Right?
Okay, any opposed? All right, let's move on to the licensing, the initial fee. Well, I think we're gonna strike all the
Just a
licensing.
Question, if the dog is captured for the second time within the 30 days, is there a fee for that? You want to insert it?
It'd still be a redemption fee, but the contract is still, you know,
Their appointments
In
in
play.
2 days.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So there would still be.
$50.
Well,
If they're within the 30 days, we ignore the unaltered state and charge them $100.
I think that's right. The 100 is
That
for
sounds
the
good.
altered second offense.
you've lost me.
So we would add
Okay,
another
the
line.
question
Oh,
is.
you want to add another line?
Yes, if the
Got it.
animal is picked up within 30 days in an unaltered state redemption fee would be $100.
An additional $100.
Yes,
Particularly possible for parking, so
sir.
I think they charge so much a day for parking them.
$10 a day.
How do the homeless have such good animals that follow them around everywhere? They can't afford them.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, that would be Alderman Fillinger making a motion to add to the fee schedule a return redemption of an unaltered animal that is picked up in less than 30 days is a $100 fee.
I'll second.
Plus $10 a day.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Crickmer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we need to move down here to the licensing since we're doing that all through microchip, right?
Move to strike all the licensing fees, ma'am.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger to strike all references to licensing fees
I'll
on the fee
second.
schedule, and we have a second by Alderman Rapino. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. And just like that.
It's on the rehoming definition. I just came up with rehoming fee is a fee charged by an organization or person to adopt, readopt or place an animal in another home. This does not include a donation for a pet. Would that work for council? Or does somebody want to come up with a rehoming fee?
That works for me then.
So that's the definition then, that you're gonna add.
So motion to see that definition.
Okay,
Well, that's the rehoming fee from rescues, correct?
It would.
There'll be a
include
definition.
Rescues, we can exclude or just have from a. private-
We have no rehoming organizations within the city,
I know.
so it's a moot point.
Okay.
okay, so we need a motion.
What's the definition?
I move that we adopt the definition as supplied by our city attorney
And I'll second.
for rehoming fees.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rupino to accept the definition for rehoming as provided by the city attorney. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Sorry, I couldn't
opposed?
Go to break, or we're gonna have to call solo.
Okay, that was unanimous. It is, Nine-
You're gonna adopt the whole ordinance?
oh, yes, sorry, sorry.
Yes.
After all that work. Okay. Who's up?
Okay, we have no ordinance, so number on here, so.
It says ordinance number 2.
no,
Actually-
2022-196, that's the right.
That is the right
Yes.
number?
20,
2022-196.
196. Yeah, it's on the agenda.
I move we accept ordinance number 2022-196. Ordinance City of Sandy Oaks, Texas, amending ordinance number 2021-185. Establishing the animal regulations, providing for severability clause, providing for a penalty for violations hereof, providing for an effective date, and providing for publication. I move that
As
We-
amended.
as amended. When's our effective date today?
It would be when it's signed, yes.
Effective date when signed as amended. That's my motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
is that you?
Yes, that's me.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to accept or to approve ordinance 2022-196 as amended. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. It is 9:24. We are going to pause for a break. 15 minutes. We will be back at 9:40. Okay, it is 9:40. We are back in session. We're going to move on to item 9. Updates and announcements from Park Advisory Committee Chair Tom Rapino with possible discussion and or action. Do you have any general announcements?
Just general announcement, we have a meeting coming up on the 15th, that's next Tuesday. We still are, doing some of the same things. We're getting our exercise equipment. Charles and I met with the gentleman that's going to put in the foundation and the exercise equipment down there by the community center. So we'll have, what is it, 8?
9.
Nine actual
Stations.
stations for exercise equipment. We are looking into applying for a grant from AARP. We are talking about maybe getting a bibliotech up. Also, we're talking about it. So there are some of the things that the park committee is talking about. So,
Got some telephone poles in? I heard a rumor.
oh, that's
Poles
lighting.
for the light fixtures.
Light fixtures that,
Laying on the ground.
yeah, we're gonna put some lighting in on the
Mhm.
basketball court and some other areas in the park. So that it'll be more accessible to people at night.
Mhm.
And that's about it right now.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. 10B, discuss and or possible action on scheduling a public hearing on the proposed, oh, sorry. I am, put that in the wrong place. Bear with me. It needs to go up here. Item 10A, discuss and or possible action on proposed additional streetlights from CPS Energy. So in this current fiscal year budget, I budgeted for 100 additional streetlights for the people who are on the call. Let me see if I can make this happen. Oh, wrong way. Nope, that
You're
was the
right.
right.
There you go.
Okay, hold on. Oh, wrong way. Hold on. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So you're not going to see the whole thing here, but basically they focused on Waterwood Pass and New Mathis. And they are proposing, they did a photoelectric study, and they're proposing at the entrance in, excuse me, in the commercial areas on Waterwood Pass and New Mathis, adding 4 250 watt. Those are the blue stars that you see there to really lighten up that area. And then all of the red stars are,
Four each, 4 on New Mathis, 4 on Waterwood.
yes,
Okay,
for a total of 8. Actually, one of those, the one that is there at Waterwood Pass and Priest Road right now is 100 watt. And they want to upgrade that to a 250.
okay.
So that would, there's 7. There'll be 8 250s.
Right.
Okay. All of the red stars are where they're proposing to place new 100 watt streetlights. The gold stars along that street is where existing streetlights are today. And you'll notice there are no streetlights being proposed along Priest Road. And that is because they're trying to determine if, depending on the type of road and the speed limit, which it is an arterial road and it is 40 miles an hour, it may require 250 watt, and that requires another photoelectric study. So they will probably come back with an answer on that. But my thought was that we hold a public hearing. Well, first of all, this is what CPS has proposed.
Okay.
I know that we have on here for possible action, but I don't recommend that the council take any action at this time. I would recommend that we move to item B, which is scheduling a public hearing. And my reason for that is we focus, or CPS focused on the two major roads in and out of the city. There are other areas around the city that could probably benefit from a streetlight.
Many.
I'm sure. And you can see here the counts that are in red, they're only proposing 42 new lights. So we have room. We budgeted for 100, so we can always add more lights. But I think if we had a public hearing, probably our next meeting, give the public an opportunity to come in and look at the map and kind of get their bearings and figure out where they think they might want one. That would be my recommendation.
On a public hearing, is it just during a meeting or?
It can be separate. It could be on a
Like on a
Saturday.
Saturday or-
Sure,
Okay,
we could do that. You have to check for everyone's availability. And we could certainly do it on a Saturday if that's more convenient for everyone.
would it, okay, because I'm thinking of just people coming in, kind of looking at the map, kind of thinking about where they are at in relation to a street light, and maybe they just say, oh yeah, I want it here, and then, then we kind of collectively review the recommendations from the public. But I don't know how it works, so.
Well, no. And that's kind of what I was hoping from now until when the public hearing happens, they would be able to come in here and take a look and see.
We
There-
need to-
There's another side to that some people don't want streetlights for a number of reasons. One is they feel like they live in the country and they like the dark.
They want to see the moon and the stars.
Mhm.
Right. And then we have had situations where somebody claimed that the streetlight was blinding their bedroom window, and that was not the
Keeping them awake.
case. That was an all-night security light, their own. Um, But this map does not include any all-night security lights. This is strictly existing and proposed
It
streetlights.
doesn't include all of the existing.
Well, it does. If you go look real closely, there's little yellow dots, and that's why I started putting stars on there because the little yellow dots are too small. And then I ran out of stars, so we only focused on the two main roads, which is what they're really proposing. But
Well,
if you look, you can
correct.
see the yellow.
Currently, we have streetlights at every street intersection
And
and
cul-de-sac.
every cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
Dragon Rock, we have an additional 3 or 4 lights on it.
Yes, there are more
Uh,
down that road.
But yeah, we need to get the arterial routes.
I agree.
Covered.
I think Priest Road would be definitely. I know that I've heard from a couple of people that live there on Priest Road who have expressed concern because of break-ins and loitering and different things.
The part where it's not the city on the west side of Priest Road is awfully dark.
It will depend, they're going to attach to existing poles.
Mhm.
If you had gone down Star Oaks, when you turn on Star Oaks, you go up and there's kind of a big turn thing, and then the road kind of goes this way.
Uh-huh.
There is a street light that was put in there, but it's on the side of the road that's not in the city.
Uh-huh.
But that's only because that's the only place we could put it,
Well, I
but the city
remember when I
pays for
surveyed
that.
all the poles, the ones that have transformers on them and whatnot were on our side.
Okay,
But it's just awfully dark because there's nothing over there.
right.
Yeah, mostly it where it's not the city on the
West side.
that side,
Yeah.
there are a few transformers there.
Mhm.
On the other hand, we don't have a lot of pedestrian traffic in that area.
No, I almost hit a dog coming here to this evening.
Well, I almost ran over somebody on New Mathis last night,
Really?
but they're in black clothes. It's dark of
Oh, yeah.
the night.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know,
And those roads, when there is no moon out, those two roads there are very, well, and I'm sure
Extremely
Priest
dark.
Road
Yes,
is as well, but it's very dark.
they're much more of a priority in my mind.
Just because of the concentration
Yeah.
of houses in here, but Priest Road definitely, I think, is one. I would like the public's input on areas where they're seeing crime, that a streetlight would benefit. I'll tell you that we did put a streetlight in a location where we had a recurring issue with dumping trash over on Copper Canyon, and that made a difference.
Yep.
Put a sign up, no dumping, put a streetlight up, and it doesn't happen anymore. So that's one of the reasons I want to open it up to the public, because
That would be really essential.
it would be, but it's beneficial to them because, you know, if there were a street light there, it will perhaps make it safer for them.
Yes, and picking a date for them to look at the map and get an idea visual
Mhm.
and have some surveys out for them and listen to what they have to say, even if it's verbal,
Yeah.
Spanish and English,
Yeah.
or whatever the language is out here.
So what I can do is take a picture of that and we can send out a Nixle alert.
okay,
And let them know that does not identify all of the existing streetlights. If you zoom in, you can see the little yellow dots. And then CPS is offered to participate during a public hearing. They actually did that board for us because they sent me a PDF and I couldn't see anything. So I asked them if they could give me
They
the,
did this, they selected the sites on there for the new ones.
based on their photoelectric study, yes.
Cool.
Is this board gonna stay up?
This board will stay up from now until, through the public hearing. And so because this room is accessible during business hours, anybody can come in and take a look. We might want to put a sheet or something, like where would you like a light and who to contact just in case we need to reach out to them if we can't understand what they're recommending.
Do we have an easel that we could? put in?
I looked for an easel, but I couldn't find it. That's why we stuck it on the wall. We had easels. It might be down at the community center yeah, it might be. And if we can find an easel, then absolutely we'd put it out here, make it a little bit easier for people to see. So my recommendation is not to take any action on item A at this time, but to move on to item B, which is discuss and a possible action on scheduling a public hearing on the proposed additional streetlights. And so this is where you guys get to decide if you want to do it during a regular meeting, you want to do it on a weekend, you want to, how and when and where you want to do that.
Can we just have a period of time for comments? Like a week worth of comments?
I don't believe a week is enough.
Okay, 2 weeks or,
We could do 2 weeks of comments instead of doing a public hearing.
I think it would be easier for the people.
And I think people don't want to come to meetings
I
for
don't
fear
think
of
so.
speaking up or,
Right.
so I mean, if you give them just an open time frame and say, come on down, make a recommendation, it could be
Not
anonymous
on Nixle.
Facebook.
Yeah, all the usual.
Usual
I
place.
think if we open it for public comments, we have
Yeah.
to publish, do we not?
We should publish comments that are received, yes.
Okay.
And let's talk about how that would have, the logistics of that. Is it an email to the city clerk? Is it a form? Do I need to go create a form on the website that would funnel, have a heading that, so the headings are consistent
Yeah.
and you know what you're looking for, who wants to be the recipient
That
and
would be good.
tally those, do a form on the website?
You want to put my email down?
You don't have enough to do?
Apparently not.
Okay, and then Mike will receive. And typically what I do is there'll be 2 recipients. I think Charlotte by default gets one. And then we can add somebody else.
Okay, I can keep a spreadsheet going.
Okay,
What's coming up?
that would be helpful. Okay, so no public hearing, but a 2-week comment period. And when do you want those dates to
Do
begin
we
and
need to
end?
publish that, Charles?
The comments. We have to publish the comments.
How does that work?
Well, Michael's going to keep track of it.
Do we,
Publish a notice? That's
do
what
we
I'm asking.
publish notice that we're accepting public comment? In our newspaper? Or we just gonna rely on social media next one?
I can't tell you the last time I read a Wilson County News.
In the event that y'all don't receive any public comments, then what will be the next step?
Then the council will decide how to move forward.
Then y'all didn't receive any public input,
So what would you recommend?
a public hearing.
And if
That will
no,
give y'all the opportunity to really know more of the residents.
I agree. So we could accept public comments and do a public hearing?
That would be best.
Okay. We can do both.
I'm good with that. Accept public hearings for the next 10 days and a public hearing prior to our next regular council meeting. That's a motion.
Well, hold on. So you want to do comments for 10 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that calendar or business?
Calendar days, ma'am, calendar.
I mean,
If it was business days, that would put us receiving public comments right up to the moment we have to make a decision.
Yeah, can't do that.
Trying to get Michael some slack and Alderman Martinez some slack and let him finish his Excel spreadsheet in time.
I'm very good at Excel.
Yes, he is. Okay, so 10 days beginning when?
Monday.
Monday would be good because I've got to create the form.
Is that enough time to create it?
Oh, yeah.
Then 10 days would be the following Wednesday.
So
Yeah,
Monday,
that's good.
that's the next meeting. That would be the next meeting.
Okay.
It's, I don't think it is.
I didn't hear the question.
Wilson
If it was
County.
gonna be published in the
No.
Wilson County News, then, okay.
We can do it on our website. We can do it in the social media channels and we can do it through Nixle.
Good.
Okay. And then you want the public hearing at the next meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
And that would
Start
be,
with
the
the public hearing prior to the meeting.
We've done that
Yes.
before.
yeah, do the public hearing first, right?
At
And that is a motion, sir?
6:30 PM?
That is a motion, ma'am.
That's the plan.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fillinger and a second by Alderman Rapino to accept public comments beginning Monday, the 14th for 10 days on proposed streetlights and have a public hearing at the beginning of our next regular meeting on February 24th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right,
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. Okay. Now I've scribbled all over everything now. Okay, item C. Executive session pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074, personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee regarding the following employees: Chief of Police, Court Clerk, Animal Control Officer. So it is 9:59 PM. And we will recess from our regular session. Sorry, everyone, a little procedural change. Just bear with us a moment and we will, we'll get back on track here. Okay, it is 10:02. We are back into regular session. And so I'm going to reread item 10C, which is executive session pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074, personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee regarding the following employees: Chief of Police, Court Clerk, Animal Control Officer. And under executive session, this is a discussion only. It is closed to the public. The city council may close the meeting at any time and hold an executive session pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultations with attorney on matters in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly requires discussion in closed session. Section 551.074, personnel matters, or any other authorized provision of Chapter 551 on any of the above items. The Open Meetings Act permits a governing body to consult with its attorney privately in executive session by telephone conference call, video conference call, or communications over the internet. Texas Government Code 551.129A. And with that, it is now 10:04, and we will adjourn to executive session. We will return. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Charlotte, do you have yours going?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. It is now 10:57. Council's return to open session. Mayor Ball has removed herself. We are going to recess until
It's 11:01.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 11:01. So you want 15?
Oh, okay.
You want 5 or 10?
About 10 minutes. So we will recess until 11:12 PM. Are you recording, Charlie?
Where's the camera? Like the video.
Okay, it's 11:12 PM. We are back in open session. Agenda item 10D, discuss and or possible action on mayor's written reprimand issued to chief of police on February 7th, 2022, and or matters discussed in the executive session. I would like to defer, I move that we defer any action on this until we hear the grievance that has been entered.
I'll second.
Was that you, Tom?
Yes.
Alderman Rapino seconds the motion. Any discussion? All in favor of deferring action until after hearing the grievance, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Item E, discuss and or possible action on mayor's written reprimand issued to court clerk on February 7th, 2022, and or matters discussed in the executive session. I move that we defer any any action or discussion until after reviewing the grievance entered.
I'll second.
Seconded,
First. So you're making the motion. Never mind.
seconded by Alderman Rapino. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Item F. Discuss and/or possible action on change in salary for certification of ACO Ellis pursuant to council action at the October 14th, 2021 council meeting and/or matters discussed in the executive session. First of all, Mr. Ellis, congratulations again on passing the basic animal control. The matter's open for discussion. Anyone?
I guess we're gonna discuss giving him a pay raise.
Yes, sir.
Or I move that we increase his pay to $17 an hour. And as since he has passed his first.
He's got the big certification.
There were two other certifications you need.
Yes, so I still need the LRCA certification and I still need bite stick and pepper spray training, which is one training.
And I made that motion, but I want, what is your pay rate now? The 15, that's what I was told.
Can we
ask that?
in public session?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
15.
okay. Well, then I made that recommendation.
Okay, I have a recommendation from Alderman Rapino to increase Mr. Ellis's pay to $17 an hour. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Bricken. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Ellis. Item G, discuss and or possible action on reconsidering approval of the quote from Beluga Air to install air purification system to the municipal building approved by council of January 27th, 2022 meeting. This item is brought by Alderman Crickmer and Rapino. Take it away,
I'd
gentlemen.
like to know exactly what are we getting? There's no schematics or specs on the equipment we're buying. It's close to $8,000 and I have no information on it. Correct? It's close to $8,000. Do we have any of that? I haven't seen any.
We just had the quote last time.
Yeah, and that's all we have this.
And what are we getting?
It's an air
Something
purification.
that's filtering the air and has a UV light in it that might last 2 years. So I'd like a little more information from the vendor, if possible, before we decide.
I want to say it was in the previous one, which
We did, we're reconsidering it.
Does anybody have that last quote?
Yeah, we have the quote should be in your package.
Yeah, it's in
Ten
there.
G. Total was $7,156.88.
What are we getting?
What does it say on that quote?
There's 3 quotes, I believe.
Yeah, there's different quotes.
yeah, all it says is advanced UV filtration helps kill and prevent microbial growth in ductwork. If I'm not mistaken, I think it mounts at the inlet and it's a UV light. So as air passes through, it tries to kill off
And
any
there's supposedly a finer filter.
supposedly finer filters.
A
Correct.
finer filter that, how do we
So basically putting
get
it
the
on-
same volume of air through a finer filter without choking out the system?
It will not. It will not be it will not flow the same amount of air, right? It's a MERV 8, so it is a thicker potentially filter. I guess if
Right.
that's the right, no?
It's still going to be a 1/8 filter. It's more finely filter.
Gotcha.
A MERV 1 is your basic,
Fiberglass.
yes, spun fiberglass filter.
Right.
It doesn't even filter out bad air.
Yeah.
This building's so porous and put together, in sections. I'm even wondering whether it's not overkill. And if I'm not correct, didn't you say that the filters in it haven't been changed in 3 years? So no wonder it
Yeah, why
has-
don't we do that first? It'd be a lot cheaper.
Can I
And
ask a question?
Yeah.
I've sat in a lot of meetings in other places. And usually what I find peculiar here is that we're only dealing with one bid. Is it like there only comes to be 10,000 companies in the area?
You might be surprised, sir, at how very difficult it is to get companies out here. I called for the old City Hall of what's now our community center. 8 air conditioning contractors come out and look at it. 1 came to look. We run into the same thing with
The gate.
the gate. But we got 2 bids after contacting 8 people. But, I'm sure that Priscilla would appreciate help to find more bids. I'm just saying, you can spend all day on the telephone and on the internet and get one person to respond. But neither here nor there.
Why it seemed like the last couple of things you dealt with one bid. And if you're saying that's what the problem is, I accept that.
I am currently receiving quotes on another project. I submitted 5 requests for bids and I've had 2 responses so far. But that's neither here nor there. The matter at the table is
So it is what it is, I guess. we find it.
is to reconsider approval of the quote and perform further research. Is that,
Generally, don't we
Is that
have people
correct?
that come online and explain the product to us when we do this? If he's in Pennsylvania and he can't come here, couldn't he just give us a presentation on the mechanics of what he's selling?
That would be different, though. This is an engineering. This is changing out the filters.
It's
and
not.
coming-
It's installing a separate system
The
into our.
purification
It's a
Yeah.
purification
Yeah.
system, yes.
Right.
Thank you for correcting me.
No,
However, it's not the same as engineering. It's, yes, you're putting a purification system, which there's research behind those items, that it is beneficial, especially because we continue to be in a pandemic.
it's what?
It's gonna suck out the air from the woods. There's no viruses in the wood. The pandemic's walking in the door every day with people. It's not coming in through the air circulating from the forest, from the wood.
but we're recirculating air in this building over and
Yes,
over and
I
over again.
understand.
Sucking air
Uh,
from the animal control part.
Mm-hmm.
well, we can reach out to Beluga.
And
That's what I'm asking, that we get a little bit more information on the product before we spend $8,000 on it.
and didn't you say you wanted to change the filters rather than paying them?
That,
No.
that's a separate line item.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
it comes up. in the-
Yeah.
But yes.
Let's take this. Do we want to defer this action to perform further research? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
Can I hear a motion?
Propose a motion that we defer action on whatever item it is,
Item G.
10G.
10G, with Beluga Air for the air filtration system. For further research.
I'll
Uh,
second.
Determine,
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of deferring the contract with Beluga Air for further investigation, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. We will defer.
thank you, sir.
Okay. And Alderman Crickmer, I'm gonna ask you to take charge of the further investigation and looking for
Okay.
quotes.
I'll do that.
Thank you. Item H, discuss and or approve to purchase a laptop / tablet for code enforcement. Brought by Mayor Ball. We have a quote. Oh, I've just lost everything now.
1402.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, we have a quote, Microsoft Surface Duck 2, Microsoft Surface Pro 7 Plus tablet, rugged case with hand and shoulder bag. I think we just approved one of these for the animal control
We did, it's the
officer.
same thing. yeah.
Correct. This will
Okay,
be for
it's the
code
same
enforcement.
quote. This will be for the code enforcement official. Total is 1,000. I can't read the bottom line.
$477.95.
$1,492.95
That is with shipping.
with shipping.
Okay.
There's a line there. I
Yeah,
can't read
yeah, I
that.
can't read it either.
Thank you, Alderman Martinez. Do I hear a motion?
I have a motion to approve with an NTE of $1,500,
Oh, not to exceed.
not to exceed.
Okay. The motion is made to purchase the equipment with a not to exceed $1,500. Second by Alderman Rufino. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous, man.
I'll reach out to Jerry, our NIT, and have him make the purchase for the request.
Okay. Discuss and or possible action on quote from Beluga Air to remove and replace AC filters for a municipal building for 12 months rather than 2 months on previous approved quote. Let's defer action on this also until we approve or disapprove the contract. Item J, discuss and or possible action on a quote from Beluga Air to clean municipal building duct system.
And that's the quote that Priscilla's got the quote. It's not from Beluga Air, it's from another company.
But Beluga Air recommended them because they don't, Beluga Air does not do gut cleaning.
Okay,
Shouldn't we wait till we decide on
And that was not,
the air first?
no,
we'll have to bring it back. to
Okay, then-
council,
then we're gonna pull it.
um, Because I guess because it says Alamo Steam Team,
Okay,
to do the job.
okay, we'll pull this action and
Put it on the-
put it on the next agenda. Discuss and or possible action on quote from Priscilla Schmidt, Public Works Department for alternative means of changing AC filters on the municipal building.
Just so that y'all know, this is not just for changing out the filters for this purchase.
Right,
This is
Yeah.
gonna be for lots of projects for the community, the park here. So this quote that y'all have in front of y'all, I think it would be
So I worked very closely with Priscilla on this to come up with an alternative to the Beluga Air AC filter replacement. What you do have in front of you on the first page is a lift gate that can be attached to the Coyote trailer, which, like Priscilla alluded to, that can be used in the park. It can be used for various other activities
Oh, yeah.
around the community. To combat the increased risk, we did include a safety harness and a safety strap that would be, keep us OSHA compliant. And on the back where they're the cost of the filters or no?
The back, I'm sorry,
Is there filters? No,
filters for what? Their filters?
yeah,
No, that's something else that none of you are aware of, but Beluga Air reached out to them, but because our filters are dated for 8/12 of 2019 and our filters are black. I mean,
right, we didn't find any of
the
the,
owner of the company, I reached out to him directly. And so the quote that we have for them to change out for the maintenance for this building, they were only gonna do 2 filter changes, and the 10 we were gonna have to change. We would have to purchase them and we would have to change them.
right, what
But
I'm,
now we are not gonna have to purchase 10 filters. They're going to give us 10 filters for free.
if we approve the contract.
No. They're going to approve the 10 filters, period, because they should have let us know that those filters in our AC units, when they came out to check them, were as bad as they were. So we will get 10 free filters, no charge,
Okay,
whether we go with the,
I think we need, I think we need to table it for more discussion.
what am I looking at here?
it's a shelf. So it got, basically, if you didn't approve this forklift, that was
Okay.
the attachment for the ladder.
All right, well, let's go in this. Do you have a total for the work platform, safety harness and
$369.67.
Let me see your copy. Let me see your copy. 369.67. I think is what it
Thank
is.
you.
370.
no. I move that we purchase the forklift construction lift harness and safety belt not to exceed $400.
I'll second.
And Alderman Rapino second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it's unanimous. Approved. And with that, let me get my clock out of here. We will adjourn at 11:31 PM.
I just took them off.